Alright, everybody. As many of you guys who've been following sort of the political culture war online may know, the right has not, just recently started its sort of hysteria over trans people. It's been going on for a while, but it's changed forms a lot over the years. You see, back in 2016 and 2017, transphobia was a little bit more masked than it is now. The right has kind of shifted the level of severity of their criticisms of the trans community over the course of the last few years, right? Particularly in regards to trans kids. You see, back in the day, it used to just be conservatives saying that they don't care once you're 18 or older, you're old enough to make your own life decisions, who cares what you decide to do, just don't push it on anybody else, just don't be too cringe, we'll make fun of you, right? That was like the general idea that the right gave off by their rhetoric around trans people. People like Calvin Gara and Blair White were completely accepted in the broader right-wing community. They were extremely popular. It was very rare for a large right-wing pundit to speak out against them because they recognized they were useful tools for advancing their agenda. However, over the last year or so, the right has intensified their rhetoric immensely. To the extent that they basically just call all trans people groomers and pedophiles who are pushing children into being trans, and for that, they need to be treated exactly how everyone agrees groomers and pedophiles should be treated. They've gotten to the point of falsely accusing trans people of being pedophiles and calling for the death of pedophiles, because no one disagrees with calling for the death of pedophiles, but they believe all trans people are pedophiles, so what they are actually calling for is the death of all trans people. It's also ironic because so many of them end up being pedophiles themselves, but, that's beside the point. Anyway, Lizzo, very popular music artist here in America, ended up going on stage in Tennessee. There's this tweet that's posted about it. Lizzo claps back at Tennessee's law banning drag shows in public places, invites drag queen star performers with her set on stage at a show in Tennessee. Oh yeah, by the way, right-wing states are literally banning drag and the ability for trans people to exist in public, and the vast majority of the right are cheering this on because they are authoritarians. Matt Walsh, after all, does have theocratic fascist in his bio. Anyway, Matt Walsh quote tweets this video saying, "Throw her in jail," because she brought drag queens on stage at a concert to dance with her in Tennessee. He thinks Lizzo should be thrown in jail. Not surprising, he is of course a fascist. Recently he did call for the execution of drug dealers and drug addicts. He said that countries like Singapore are cleaner and better off because they execute and engage in very severe corporal punishment on all forms of criminality, and that America needs to start doing that. He called for more executions, public executions, and more long prison sentences with torture. He also mentioned beating and torturing drug addicts as well. So, yeah. But let's not pretend like Ben Shapiro, the, largest head of Daily Wire, is any better, because he's went out and said this. This is where we are headed. Ben Shapiro is now advocating for local communities to pass laws, quote-unquote, stopping men from wearing women's clothes in public, although he says, quote-unquote, pants on women might be okay. This regressive anti-trans ideology harms us all. They're authoritarians. All of this talk about them being libertarian and just wanting to maximize freedom is just talk. Everything they fight for is the restriction of everyone else's freedom. That is their end goal. Freedom cannot exist if they win.
Should wearing dresses and skirts be illegal for men in public? If so, should wearing pants for women be illegal in public? Well, pants not so much, because there is a female version of pants that is nearly indistinguishable in many cases from male pants. But
female and male pants. Ah, yes. That's a thing. I'm not saying there aren't clothes that are made to fit like specific body types, but there is nothing about jeans that a guy would wear that is male if a woman wears it and it fits. Like, there's clothing is not like, it doesn't have a biological sex ascribed to it. It's based on your body type. That's why the nicest clothes that like people with wealth can afford is bespoke. Bespoke basically means it's made to order, to measurements for you. Rich people, when they buy their clothes, they typically get bespoke clothing that's made to their measurements because they can afford to. Made to fit all type clothing that you generally buy at the store is made for people who can only afford that. So, yeah, no. The reason why clothing is the way that it is generally in like stores is because they need to have clothing that fits a broad amount of body types for sales. But if you have money, you're more likely to go pay for bespoke clothing made to fit you specifically, because even if you're, like, let's say you're a cis woman, you're going to have to look around to find, say, a shirt or a bra or pants or even socks and shoes in many cases that fit you perfectly. So there is no, like, set biological standard to clothing, even on that level.
Men wearing traditional female clothing in public, I think that there's a case that that local communities should be able to stop that. Sure, I mean, we have local laws about being naked or indecent exposure, or at least we used to.
That's what they're trying to compare it to. They're trying to compare... What he means by men wearing dresses in public, by the way, is trans women. Like, he's trying to say that trans women existing in public is equivalent to indecent exposure and nudity in public. That if a trans woman goes out in a dress, that is equivalent to, like, flashing children with your dick or your vagina. Are unisex clothes intersex? True. The word unisex, when regards to clothing, refers to the fact that they are not specifically made to look like they're for a particular gender. So, like, for example, like a shirt that's, like, just, yeah, it's universally, like, fit, right? Yeah, socks are unisex, for example. What is he doing?
Have I seen Kyle Dunnigan's Fresh Pres of DC, where you're featured as Biden's butler known as Beneford the Butler? I have not seen this, actually. And now I'm going to have to check it out. That sounds funny.
Dude, right-wing fucking propaganda. They go straight from, like, advocating for fascist authoritarian laws that literally make it illegal for trans people to exist in public, and then it's like, haha, funny memes, Ben Shapiro, ha ha ha. Oh, God. It is egregiously easy to become a right-wing grifter that just spews vitriolic hate to the public all day. These people rake in millions of dollars a year. They live in, like, million-dollar mansions and have, like, luxury lifestyles, and their job is literally just to be supervillains. You know how, like, in movies, like a James Bond movie, it's like, how are the supervillains making so much money? And, like, villainy surely can't be this profitable. No, as it turns out, it's very realistic. It is very realistic that supervillains would have a lot of money. It is very profitable to be pure evil. The Boys? Listen, this is gonna sound soy as fuck coming from me, but, like, come on. Let's be real. The Boys is a pretty damn good satire of modern-day politics. It hits a lot of nails right on the head. I know it sounds a little soy, but if you haven't seen the show, you are really missing out. There's a lot more to love about it than just the political side of it, but it's like an amazing show, like an absurdly amazing show that is a critique of the superhero genre and all of that. Or I should say more of a parody, less so of a critique. While on top of that, having some of the best left-wing scathing political commentary that is, like, very up with the times that I've ever seen. Would I get copyrighted if I played a brief clip? I probably would. I'll describe how one episode opens. There is an episode that opens with, like, a neckbeard incel dude walking down waking up from his bed, putting on his glasses, turning on a podcast on his phone, and just putting in his earbuds. It's like the equivalent of not Alex Jones, of like Joe Rogan is what it's supposed to be. And he's like walking out of his hallway, like out of his, apartment, and he walks by this cute girl, and he like goes to say hi to her, but he kind of messes it up, and she just kind of seems weirded out, and he like looks really sad, goes to the store, buys some stuff from the cashier, goes to work, and like each day we watch as like he comes home, he turns on his computer and he scrolls through message boards that are like 4chan and far right stuff. He watches like VOT, which is like the Fox News of the boys universe, and he learns about how super villains, basically it's like the right in the boys universe is utilizing the fact that superheroes exist and to push the idea that brown people, immigrants, minorities, etc. could be supervillains with powers that are going to do terrorism. And so that's what the angle they're using to push white nationalism to the populace. And so he's listening to this propaganda every night when he gets home, and he's like scrolling through 4chan. He wakes up, every morning, and he's like watching more and more radical media each day until finally he picks up a gun. He goes to his local convenience store. If I remember correctly, it was like a Middle Eastern guy was the cashier. The same cashier he's been happily buying snacks from every morning on his way to work. Pulls out a gun and shoots him in the head. Because he thinks that he's a terrorist. Because that's the propaganda that universe's Fox News is pushing. It is very on point when it comes to the, like, political commentary in the show. It is, like, very current. It is on top of what's going on and parodying what is happening now. And from a aggressively progressive perspective, the showrunner is Eric Kripke, who made Supernatural, or at least the early seasons of Supernatural when it was good. And, it is better than Supernatural, to be honest, like, way better. It is fantastic. If you know Eric Kripke and you know his Twitter feed, you know how left-wing the bias of the show is. But yeah. Oh, also, it gets even better, by the way. They're going even further with their authoritarianism. My lovely editor, Cherry, posted this quote tweet of a Gays Against Groomers Illinois tweet, which, by the way, Gays Against Groomers is literally a hate group run by cis straight people with, like, 2 lesbian figureheads that are TERFs. It's literally just run by straight white dudes. Cis straight white dudes. It's a hate group trying to look like they're a bunch of gay people pushing against, like, trans people being accepted in the LGBT community. Or I guess LGB community is what they call it. They tweeted, the Chicago Public Library at ShePubLib is posting an event designed to sexually groom children. We have demanded that they cancel it. If they do not, will you actually come protest with us? If yes, please vote in this poll, then comment below. We will reach out to you. And then Cherry quote tweeted this saying, lol, a child wearing anything queer-related is worse than a Nazi having a child wear a shirt with a swastika on it. The queer movement is more evil than the Nazis. Well, I mean, no duh, they would say that. They are Nazis, but yeah. Just to make it clear, this is literally just a hate group being run by Nazis made to look like... It's just a psyop. It's just a psyop to convince very gullible liberals into thinking that, like, the gays are actually against the trans community, and the trans community are, like... So you know how, like, the LGBT community hates maps and is, like, fighting tooth and nail against every, like, map or pedophile who's trying to associate themselves with the LGBT community? They're trying to push the idea that lesbians, gay, and bisexual people are like, doing the same thing with trans people, and trans people are like maps, like they're equivalent, and they're this like parasite latching on to the LGB community. This is of course not true. Trans people have existed for thousands of years, as long as human history has been around to record people that are trans, and they've existed no doubt longer than that. It is not a new thing, it is not a social contagion, and no data or evidence yet has proven any of these claims to be true. The right and transphobes as a whole just don't have facts on their side.